Hi, I'm Dawn, and this is where Shabby meets Bling. Tonight, I'm going to be working on a Halloween project. Why, you ask? Well, because around here,
it's always Halloween. I'd like to thank my co-host, Monica, from Up All Night DIY, and our guest host, Annie, from Crafting with Indie Annie Jones. You're going to find the links to their channels and this playlist in my description box below. I am at a little thrift shop that I rarely get to go to because I don't come to this little town very often, but when I do, I check it out. This place isn't very big, as you can see, but it does have a variety of items from home decor to toys to household to clothes, shoes, you name it. And I have found some really cool things here, like this little number up here, way up there. I think I'll be able to find a place for this in one of my gardens. I also found these little nuggets there. These tiny itty bitty antique shoes. Not sure if they're doll shoes or little baby shoes, but don't they look like little witch boots? Oh, they do. This is what inspired this whole project tonight. These little tiny shoes. They're size 2. How cute is that? Cute and kind of creepy, which is perfect for this project. You mention witch, and what do you get? You get a black cat. You don't even have to say witch 3 times, and poof, Friday appears. I did not have enough thrifting in me for the day, so I hopped over to my favorite resale shop, and I found this bookend. Kind of redundant, bookend. I think you know what it is. You don't need to spell it out. But I'm glad they did because I'm going to use the boo part of it. If I can. I have a suspicion that the word book and the little base are 2 parts. So I'm doing a little investigation work here, a little bit of destruction, deconstruction, and yes, ta-da, it is. It's 2 pieces. Now I just need to unscrew the book part from that base. And it is on there good. I need a bigger screwdriver, so hang on, I'll be right back. Here we go. I'm more prepared now, and let's see what this does. Oh, still pretty darn tight, but it does turn. It does turn. So I'm gonna take this one out and I'll work on the other one and we'll get this thing disassembled. I also, while I was at my little favorite place, thrifted this little guy. This is the lid to a wood cheese box. And for 50 cents, I think this will make a perfect base for my project. This word book is extraordinarily heavy, so to make it stand up, I'm going to utilize the screws that came with it that I just removed. I just drill 2 holes where I already designated where I want my screw holes to be. Then I screw my word book right into place. Now I need to figure out the rest of the layout for my little scene that is going to play out right in front of your eyes. I have this cute little jack-o'-lantern, pumpkin, little candle holder, and I have a frame that I picked up on clearance at Hobby Lobby. It says $39.99 and it says 3 parts, so I don't know what's missing from this, but there's no way I'd pay at $39.99 or $3.99. I paid 99 cents. This little frame is the perfect shape for a tombstone. And it's gonna go about right there. The other thing I'm gonna add to it are those adorable little shoes. Once I have everything the way I want it, where I want it, I take my pencil and I trace all the items because I need to build up the bottom, which is going to be ground. It's going to be like a hilly cemetery plot. And remember, we need to cover the K. That K's got to go away because we only want it to say a boo. I'm going to create my ground by using scrappy foam. And you know I love myself some scrappy foam. And you know I love doing little realistic landscapes like this. I did it in this video and I will leave the link in the description box for you. Unlike in this project, I am using my scrap foam instead of whole pieces of styrofoam. Every time I make a project, if I have extra, I keep it, and you can see they're significant. And this foam, this styrofoam, glues like a dream with my hot glue. And that's how I'll be putting it into place. Right now, it's going to be like a giant jigsaw puzzle to get all the pieces where I want them. I can always trim them back, I can cut them back and sculpt them once they're in place, but I'd prefer to get the general shape down right now as I glue each individual piece into place. Once I figure out the general configuration of my styrofoam, and before I glue it into place, I'm going to fill the holes, the little crevasses in between the letter K. Once I get that complete, then all the rest of my styrofoam will follow suit and I will fill in the rest of my base, leaving a little bit of a border between the edge of my lid and my styrofoam. Here you can see I have completed all of the styrofoam I'm going to add to my base. Now it needs paint, it needs a primer coat, it needs a base coat, and I am using up some paint that I rarely use. This is a bright green and it is called Citrus Green, and it is a folk art matte paint by Plaid. I give it an entire coat, and this coat is thick. I'm putting a nice thick coat all over every tiny bit of styrofoam that I have glued on this lid. Once my citrus green has dried, I am coming back with an apple barrel matte paint by Plaid in the color of Kelly Green. And once again, a very, very thick coat of paint. Then I'll set it aside and let it dry thoroughly. Now, all of the visible area of that wood lid needs to be painted, and I'm painting it with a folk art home decor chalk paint by Plaid. This color is Java. It is not brown and it is not black. It's somewhere just hovering right in between, and it looks a lot like the color of that metal boo that I have sticking up out of the grass. So once I get this covered well, and it's only taking one coat, which is lovely, I'm gonna set it aside to dry, and then we're gonna really address the grassy area. Okay, are you ready for some grass? For some real grass? Yeah, it's not gonna be moss. It's gonna be flocking. I am going to use some purchased flocking. I've made my own in the past, but now it's available at the Hobby Lobby. So I picked up a whole bunch of different colors. The only colors I wanted, but they don't have, are orange and black. But I'm hoping they'll rectify that, because there needs to be every color under the sun. And this stuff is so much fun. What I'm doing is I am putting down another really thick coat of that Kelly green. Once I have a large portion of the green area covered again, then I'm going to take that flock with a little spoon and I'm going to sprinkle it all over the wet paint. Keep in mind, I am just winging it because there are no instructions on any of these little bottles. No instructions whatsoever. It just says flocking. That's it. End of story. So the first time I ever used their flocking, I used Mod Podge, and it didn't work really well because it dried too fast. Now, using the green paint, putting it on nice and thick, it really absorbed that flocking and it dried really well. Before I went full-blown commitment to this piece, I did try it out on a scrap piece of styrofoam first to make sure it was gonna work. It does look like I'm using a lot, but I'm really not. Once I let it dry, then I shake off very gently all the excess, and then I put it right back into the container. So I only used a fraction of this bottle for this big, large area. Now it's time to prep our little frame for what is going inside it and for paint. First thing I need to do is remove that broken area. Evidently that's where parts 2 and 3 were connected when this thing was made, and this is just getting in my way and it looks really shabby. So I'm gonna unscrew this and get it gone. Then I will remove the backing, the glass, and the piece of cardboard from inside. I'm using the back as a template to create an identical piece of cardboard. I'm just using some cardboard out of the recycle bin because that will suffice. You'll never see the logo on the other side, so this cardboard is just fine. Once I get my shape traced, I will cut it out. This piece is going to go on the back, and the only reason I'm creating this piece is so I can have basically a clean slate to paint without stickers and price tags. Once I have my piece cut out, I make sure that it fits into that frame nice and snug. Now it's time to work on the tombstone. I jumped into Canva and I searched granite, and this is one of the many images that popped up. And this is the one, of course, I chose. I decided to make it a little lighter, so I used the transparency button and I scaled it down so it was pretty pale. Then I chose an arch shape, which is going to represent the perimeter of my tombstone. And then I picked my text and I decided on the font that I wanted, that I thought would look best for this old tombstone. This is what I decided to put on my tombstone. I printed it out. Now I need to cut it out and make sure it fits nicely in my frame. And it does. Now I'm going to glue the old back and my new back together just using some hot glue. Finally, time to paint. I am starting by giving my back, that cardboard piece, and the back of the frame a nice coat of white. This is an apple barrel matte paint by Plaid. Once the back of my frame has dried, I'm going to flip it over and paint the front. I'm going to do this a little bit different. I'm using two paints in combination because I'm going to blend them together to look like the granite on the image that I printed out. I am still using that plaid white, but I'm also incorporating a Decor Americana paint, and the color is slate gray. So I am just using two paintbrushes at the same time, and I am stippling them and blending them to get the exact same look that is on my tombstone image. I not only paint the front, but I do the inside rim of the frame and the exterior rim of the frame as well. I found this image of a vintage moon online and I printed it out. Now I'm gonna patch it onto a piece of plastic. This is a lid from a package of Christmas ornaments that I bought on clearance. I tend to keep the lids because I package my ornaments in a nice box separately. So that gives me this wonderful material to use. I Mod Podge the entire back of my moon and I lay it nice and flat onto the plastic, and then I just burnish it down and wait for it to dry. After all, this is a Halloween scene, so why not have a great big full harvest moon hovering up in the sky? Once my Mod Podge has dried, I will cut my moon out. I need a way to stand my moon up in the sky, so I'm going to use half of an embroidery hoop and a dowel rod to do that. I removed the little screw from the outer ring of the embroidery hoop. I gently stretch either end out to accommodate the little dowel rod in between. Then I will glue the dowel rod into place. I also have cut out a little strip of cardboard that I will glue along the inside lip of the embroidery hoop all along the bottom, so it will add more strength to where the dowel rod is connected to the embroidery hoop. I used the holes where I removed the screw from the embroidery hoop as a guide to help me drill a hole through the dowel rod. Then I inserted a piece of wire and glued it into place. After that, I clamped it all together. While it was still partially clamped, I decided to go ahead and start my base coat on my embroidery hoop. I will be painting it Tuscan Sun, which is a chalk paint by Hello Hobby. Once it was dry, I came back and I used that Tuscan Sun and I blended it with a pink cloud chalk paint by Waverly. These two colors gently blended together gave me the color of my moon's cheeks. After I unclamp my embroidery hoop, I will paint the dowel rod. I will once again use that beautiful Java color. This is that Folk Art Home Decor chalk paint by Plaid. So I pulled the old switcheroo. This is not the jack-o'-lantern I showed you at the beginning. This is a smaller one that I bought at Walmart last Halloween, and it lights up and it's super cute. I just don't like how plastic it looks, and I don't like seeing the little light mechanism inside because it just looks so fake. It doesn't look like a real jack-o'-lantern, so I'm going to paint it. Totally disregard the yellow I'm using here because it's not what I ended up with. I ended up painting the little edges, the cut marks of my jack-o'-lantern in a beautiful folk art matte in the color of yellow ochre. So pretty. So when it came time to paint the actual jack-o'-lantern itself, once again, totally disregard what you see happening before your eyes because that's not what I ended up using. I did give it one really good coat, and then I changed my mind and I went with a Crafters Collection Autumn Harvest. I also painted the stem, and I painted it in hazelnut, a chalk paint by Waverly. One last embellishment, I am going to put 3 roses by her little tombstone. These are foam roses that I picked up at Hobby Lobby for 40% off. I buy them every year. I took each rosebud and I peeled back the bottom layer and I cut it down. I cut it down to look like the little green part that is around the base of a rosebud. Then I used one of these thrifted stems and glued it into place, and this is what you get. I will come back and I will paint the rose itself in Java and the stem in lush green.
All of my components are complete. I just need to assemble. Then we can take a look.
Let's start by taking a really good look at our tombstone. Do you see the paint and the image and how well they blend together? And I thought I'd have a little fun with what our tombstone says. Here lies, be afraid. Rest in peace, wife, friend, witch. And how about those old shoes and the flocked grass? I love this flocking. I will definitely be using it again. It really looks like grass, like mossy grass. My scrappy foam and that flocking really hid that K well, so we just have Boo. And it looks like our moon has just risen. He's just peeking up from behind those trees to light the way. Let's add the jack-o'-lantern. There he is. He's a jolly old fellow. And if you noticed, I covered up the workings of the little light inside with a faux candle made from cardboard. That's right, he lights up. And what do I always say? If you can light it up, you should light it up. So let's light it up. There we go. That's better. Look how cool that looks. And I'm telling you, it took quite a few coats of paint to cover up that plastic, even using the Mod Podge. I forgot to tell you, I also lit the moon. You may have noticed that I created some little bushes and a tree. I did this the exact same way I created the branches in last week's video. And by adding some branches and greenery to my dowel rod that holds up my moon, I was able to hide the workings of the light that I added. I am so happy with the way my little Halloween scene came out. I cannot wait to display it this fall. This has been It's Always Halloween. Thanks again to my co-host Monica from Up All Night DIY and our guest host Annie from Crafting with Annie Jones. You're going to find the links to their channels and this playlist in my description box below. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a like, share it with your family and friends, and anyone that likes DIYs, thrifting, flipping, vintage, holiday, and Halloween decor. You can follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and check out my shop on Etsy. Leave me a comment. You know I'm always interested in what you have to say. Ring the bell for notifications of all my upcoming videos. You can support my channel by joining and by subscribing. But for now, this is Dawn with Shabby Meets Bling. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.